Next, we will conduct real-time commissioning. During real-time commissioning, be sure to check the display compensation parameter. At the same time, pull the test speed to the maximum value, and then click real-time commissioning, to ensure that the initial bending is not overbending. You must select the pop-up setting continue option. Next, start the program. Generally, when the angle is minus 90 degrees, the angle compensation is 20 degrees. When the angle is 90 degrees and the angle compensation is minus 20 degrees. Next, we click the breakpoint continue. After feeding the short edge, considering that the upper and lower dies are pressed on the plate, we set the lifting height of axis W to 100. You can see whether the plate is aligned with the plane of the toolings. If not aligned, we can click position compensation to adjust. For example, set the position compensation to 1. We can move the workpiece forward 1 mm. You can also set the position compensation to -1, then the workpiece moves back 1 mm. Through the condition of the workpiece in the view, it can be seen that the position compensation is about 0.4 mm. Click confirm compensation, click confirm, click finish compensation and follow the next step. Let it achieve the effect that the tip of the tooling is flush with the edge of the workpiece. Be careful, the option that the workpiece edge is flush with the tooling tip must be checked here. Click yes. After that, click finish compensation and follow the next step. Then click yes and confirm. Continue to click confirm. Perform a bending for the workpiece at first. Obviously, the bending angle is not enough. In this case, we have to compensate the angle first. For example, first compensate -8 degrees. If it is not enough, it can be compensated by -7 degrees. Click confirm. Be careful not to compensate too much at one time. Now the bending angle just reaches the 90 degrees. Next, let's raise the W axis again. Observe whether the head of the next bend is aligned. In case of alignment, click finish compensation and follow the next step. Then click yes and confirm. Here, we can see that the angle is not enough. We need to continue angle compensation. Let's compensate 5 degrees first. Click finish compensation and follow the next step. Now we can see the angle is almost 90 degrees. Then check the option that the plate edge is flush with the tooling tip. The height of axis W is 60, and it is already in the raised state, so there is no need to continue to adjust. Make an angle compensation according to the condition of the workpiece. Click finish compensation and follow the next step. This is the first downward bending. After downward bending, the angle is the same as before and directly enter the value -15 degrees. Click finish compensation and follow the next step. Click yes. Now it's just 90 degrees. Let's continue to bend the next edge. Then raise the W axis again and observe whether it is flush. Now it is basically flush, because the previous step is basically flush. Click finish compensation and follow the next step. As before, the angle is not enough. continue the angle compensation and input the compensation value of 5 degrees. Click Yes. Click Finish Compensation and follow the next step. The two short edges have been bent. Next, we start to bend the edge of the arc. When bending at the edge of arc, we should also observe whether it is aligned. Then start angle compensation. Let's add 0.3 degrees first. Click Confirm Compensation. Click Yes. Click Finish Compensation and follow the next step. Then click Breakpoint Continue. The angle of the first edge is not enough, so it needs to be compensated. Click Breakpoint Continue. Set the angle to 7 degrees. Then check the condition of the edge. Now the angle is just right. It can also be adjusted according to the actual situation. Next, bend the arc of the workpiece. The 90 degrees arc is divided into 20 times bending to complete. Now we can see that the arc is much more folded. Then we need to adjust the parameter next. Click the icon to exit the workpiece. Perform an angle compensation for the arc. Try to set -2 degrees first. Click Real-Time Commissioning. There is no need to click Set Continue. Because it has been set in the previous steps to continue, the parameters have been set in the angle compensation. Click Execute. Now we have to start from scratch. From the first edge to the edge of the arc. Because the previous workpiece has been failed to bend correctly, we need to take a new workpiece to do it again. The specific operation steps are the same. Next, continue to break the arc. After entering angle compensation of -2 degrees, let's take a look at the changes. Generally speaking, for complex shapes, such as the arc, you may need to debug many times to get a more appropriate state. If the arc angle is bent too much, we need to make another angle compensation. We may need to do multiple angle compensation. This time we set the input to -3.9 degrees and try again. When all our operations are over, let's continue to check the bending of the next arc. Now the arc is just turned to the position we want. Next, let's compensate the last edge. Through the bending condition just observed, we set the compensation value to 0.4 degrees. Click Confirm. Perform the first bend and continue to compensate if the angle is not enough. Set the compensation angle to 7 degrees. According to the actual situation, the angle is just right now, so there is no need to continue to adjust. Next, bend the angle of 45 degrees. Let's try a bend first. The angle is obviously not enough. We need to increase the compensation angle. Add to 12 degrees first. The hem is basically parallel, reaching the standard 45 degrees angle. Let's move on. the angle is still not enough and continue to compensate. Since 12 degrees was compensated in the previous step, it is still 12 degrees for consistency. The current debugging results are good. Click to finish commissioning. We need to save it separately. Enter our file name. Then click Save.